As some of you might know, after 10 years I have resigned with my employer, and this also meant that I needed to return my company car. I have been driving for the last 3 years with an orange BMW iX1, and while it was an okay car, I really didn't like it that much. So I decided that now that I have to buy a car for myself, that I really wanted an upgrade. The car has a 1.2-liter four-cylinder petrol engine in it. It develops a whopping 85 horsepower, does 0 to 100 in an astounding 13 seconds, and well, it consumes just 5 liters per 100 kilometers. The good thing of it is that it is also a manual shifter, and it's not one of those cars parked behind me. So this is my new second-hand car, a Kia Rio 3 from 2014, has already 150,000 kilometers on the odometer, but it still purrs like a newborn kitten. But Michael, is this really an upgrade from a BMW iX1, you can ask me? Well, in many ways it is not. I mean, the iX1, it accelerates harder, it is much more luxurious inside, it also looks a lot nicer, it is heavier, the options that you get on it are a lot better than you have here, but there are some variables that need to be taken into account. An iX1 new costs around 55-60,000 euro perhaps, and well, this one, it costs 1/10 of it. And since I am unemployed at the moment, I can't really justify spending that much money on a new car. On the other hand, what it does excel in, and I didn't have that on the iX1, is that this feels like a proper car. It has the manual shifter in it, you can hear the engine when you drive with it, and well, it is just so much more of a driving experience I have with this than I have with the BMW. So what is the condition of the car? Well, from the exterior, it looks pretty rough. I think there's a metallic beaver that started to snack on the rims here for the car. It's also full of little dents from rocks that's hit the bodywork. I think that somebody washed the windshield with some sanding paper, and well, there is also a bit of rust on it. The interior of the car is what you can expect of a 12-year-old car. Well, it does have some wear and tear from usage, but it's okay still. What is a bit worse is that this has been a smoker's car. So I have a little hole on the front seat to the right, and I think another hole in the back. And well, the smell that you have in a smoker's car, it is there also. That's why I'm happy that I have my first modification that I did to the car, Little Joe, which spreads a bit of the cherry scent while I'm driving. Another modification that I did is the steering wheel was an old plasticky steering wheel, put some nice fake leather upholstery around it, very nice. Also the same for the shifter. I tried to work with the red accent color, put a bit of a more sporty shifter on it. Not that it's a very sporty car, but nonetheless it feels more sporty like this. I also have the mid console here to rest my elbow on, also with some red on it. And then I have a very nice new radio that I put in from AliExpress, cost me 100 euro. It has a back camera, GPS in it. Still working on getting it to work, but still I have it, so that's very nice to have indeed. It personalizes a bit my car. I can't really express just how much I enjoy being back in a normal petrol car. So much in fact that I decided to make this video about it. Sure, you could argue that it's just nostalgia. I grew up with cars like this, so perhaps that's why I never quite developed the same appreciation for electric cars. And to some extent that is probably true. But I think there's more to it than that. Driving a manual petrol car requires a certain amount of skill. It's not a lot of skill, but it's skill that you simply don't need in an electric car with an automatic transmission. There you just press the accelerator to go, release it to slow down and turn the steering wheel. And that's perfectly fine, it's efficient and easy, but for me there's something missing. And this is where this video connects to my love for simulated driving. I don't necessarily love sim racing because of the competitive side of it. I just love driving itself. I love gliding through the gears while pressing the clutch, giving just the right amount of throttle when the light turns green. I love hearing the revs when I brake on the motor. It's stuff like that. I may sound a little weird saying this, but all those little actions are incredibly satisfying when you get them right. And that's something I missed for 3 years in real life and could only really experience in the simulator. I am well aware that electric cars are the future. They don't require fossil fuels, they require less maintenance, less attention, and well, yeah, less of almost everything. And I completely understand why that's appealing. For most people, a car is simply a way of getting from A to B. If it can do that quietly, comfortably, and efficiently, then that's probably a good thing. But I think I have realized that I'm looking for something slightly different from a car. I don't necessarily want it to make everything easier. I want it to give me a reason to enjoy the journey. And perhaps that's the funny thing about this little Kia. If you look at the numbers, almost everything about it is a downgrade from the BMW. But somehow it feels like more of a car to me. BMW's famous slogan is Freude am Fahren, the joy of driving. And after 3 years with the iX1, I think I've realized that my definition of that joy is probably a little different from what modern cars are increasingly designed for. Maybe for an electric car, it should be called efficiënte fahren. This little Kia is certainly not an upgrade on paper, but it brought back something that I had been missing, the anticipation of getting behind the wheel, the feeling that the journey itself is worth enjoying. And that is exactly why I couldn't be happier with my upgrade.